Are night terrors dangerous? If you have a child who's having night terrors, it can be an extreme experience. Your child is crying or screaming or tantruming, sometimes even getting violent, and you're very worried about whether or not this is dangerous for them. Hey, I'm Ryan from DreamyDad.com. I've got 3 kids of my own, one of which has experienced night terrors. And today I want to talk a bit about whether night terrors are dangerous, the experience that your child is having, and what you can do to actually stop night terrors in your child. So first, let me say that night terrors are actually quite common in young children. Anywhere from around 18 months to 6 years, children seem to have night terrors. Different studies say anywhere between 1 to 6% or even up to 15% of children do experience night terrors. And a night terror occurs when your child goes to bed, they then wake up in the middle of the night crying or screaming, tantruming, maybe thrashing about or getting violent. But the problem is they're not actually awake. You can't console your child, you can't talk to your child, you can't cuddle them because they're not awake, and they're actually very hard to wake up. So this can be very difficult to watch and very difficult to deal with as a parent. I know, I have been through it myself. Before I even knew that there was something called night terrors, my son used to wake up in the middle of the night screaming, carrying on, talking about how his legs were sore, and he used to thrash about if we tried to cuddle him, and used to get quite aggressive. And we were quite worried about this. We didn't know what was going on, and we then discovered that it's actually called night terrors. So night terrors, they're not actually particularly dangerous. We think that our child is having some intense psychological experience because they're obviously very distraught, they're acting out quite aggressively, and sometimes during night terrors, children can appear extremely fearful. They can even have a terror in their eyes, and you don't actually know where that fear or where that terror is coming from or what they're afraid of. So we can think that our child's having this deep psychological experience that could be dangerous for them. But the fact of the matter is, night terrors occur because the part of the brain that controls movement wakes up, but the part of the brain that receives input and that is conscious doesn't wake up. So it's not like when you're having a nightmare and you're going through REM sleep cycle and you're imagining bad things happening to you. That's not what is causing the night terror. What's causing it is that the brain is disassociated with itself. So part of it is awake and part of it is asleep. So you'll find that your child won't actually remember the night terror in the morning. And if you actually decide to wake up your child, you'll find that they're quite disillusioned when they wake up. They say it's the equivalent of if you're an adult, if you hear a gunshot, you might wake up and it kind of takes you a couple of seconds to work out what is going on. You are awake, but you're a bit disillusioned because it's happened so quickly. So similar sort of experience with children. They don't know they're having a night terror. They don't know that they're tantruming. And so when they wake up, they're not aware of what has happened and they'll have no memory of it. So it's not particularly dangerous from a psychological perspective. For most children as well, it's not dangerous physically. Some children, it can get so extreme that they do hurt themselves, either by thrashing too much or by actually taking it out on themselves. So that's something to be aware of as a parent. Most night terrors will stop on their own. So if you leave them, they might go for 5 or 10 minutes. They might go for 50 minutes. They can even go for up to 2 hours. I have heard of some parents, but often the night terrors will stop on their own. And doctors advise that you don't actually interrupt the night terror because generally it makes it worse. But I'm a parent. If I watch my child having a night terror, I can't help but intervene. I can't just leave him screaming. His sister sleeps in the same room. And so the solution that me and my wife has found to work is that we take our child, we take him down to the couch, we put on his favorite TV show. I don't hold him, I just put him next to me, so I'm there to take care of him, but that will help wake him up. So it's good as a parent to watch over your child while they're having night terrors just to make sure they don't hurt themselves. But in most children, especially young children, they're not going to do anything that hurts themselves. They're just going to have this experience that seems very intense for them, but actually they're not awake and they won't remember it. I have seen night terrors when they occur in older children, that the older children can jump out of bed, can run around and potentially hurt themselves on furniture, potentially lash out and break windows, which has obvious risks attached to it. So if you have older children who have night terrors, then yes, there can be an element of danger there. But luckily, whether you have young children or older children with night terrors, there are solutions to actually fix night terrors. And the reason that these solutions aren't well known, I was interviewing a sleep specialist for Runboria. The reason that they're not unknown is that most children grow out of night terrors, so they're considered benign by the clinical community. So not a lot of research has been done into how to actually stop night terrors. But there is one product that's available. It came out in June of 2015, and it's called the Lully. Okay, so the Lully is a vibrating disc that you put under your child's mattress. You then input details into the app that it's connected to on your iPhone, like when your child goes to sleep, how long they tend to sleep for, and then also when the night terror likely occurs. And then what the Lully will do, it'll prompt you to turn it on. You then go into your child's room, turn it on, and it'll begin vibrating under the bed. The reason you go into their room is so you can monitor them while this is happening. And while the vibrations are happening, if your child moves, if they wake up, or if unfortunately they have a night terror, then you turn the Lully off. And the reason that this works is the vibrations actually cause a partial awakening in your child to help reset the brain and to stop it from going into that state where part of the brain is awake, but part of the brain is asleep. So I don't know all the details clinically as to exactly why this works. I don't understand sleep mapping and how they put all those things on people's brains to monitor their sleep. I don't understand that, but I do have a child who had night terrors about twice a week. We got the Lully. We use it every night religiously, and his night terrors are basically gone. We might have a night terror once a month, once every 2 months. I can't actually remember the last night terror that we had at night. The only night terror that I can remember recently was when he had a nap, and he had a night terror during his nap. So the Lully is absolutely awesome treatment for night terrors. It's a perfect solution. It doesn't interrupt your child's sleep. If your child sleeps with another sibling in the room, then it's not going to affect your other sibling as well. It prompts you to do it, so you don't even have to remember. It reminds you, have you set, like, what time did your child go to bed? And it reminds you, hey, it's time to turn on the Lully, go ahead and do it. So it's really easy. It's really, I guess, yeah, like it doesn't interrupt your child and it doesn't interrupt the siblings. So definitely recommend it. Check it out. Go to dreamydad.com/Lully, Lully, in order to get access to that and to purchase it from Amazon. If you're outside the US, this is still the only solution available. I'm from Australia, so I had to get it shipped to a company. I used myus.com. So they gave me a physical shipping address in the US. I got the Lully shipped to them, and I then got it forwarded. myus.com then forwarded onto me in Australia and did the international postage for me. So if you're having trouble getting it because of a country that you live in, check out myus.com, get it from Amazon, ship it to there, and then you have to pay a little bit extra, obviously, for international shipping fees. But this is the only product out there that solves night terrors in children, so it's definitely recommended. If you don't want to go down the route of getting the Lully, the other solution to stop night terrors is what's called schedule awakenings. And so what you do is you make note of the time that your child tends to have a night terror, and you then wake up your child half an hour before that, and you keep them awake for 3 to 5 minutes, and then put them back to bed. Okay, you do this, I think clinical studies, people who did this for 7 weeks didn't see the night terrors return when they were reviewed in 12 months' time. So you wake your child up half an hour before the night terror is expected, keep them awake for 3 to 5 minutes, and put them back to bed. So this should work as well. The only reason I don't like this is because I have to wake up my child. I just spent all night working hard, feeding them dinner, brushing their teeth, reading a story to get them into bed. I don't want to wake them up, and I want them to have sound sleep. So it does work, but obviously you've got the problem where you've got to wake up your child. So I do recommend the Lully instead. Go to dreamydad.com/Lully amazon.com/Lully, Lully. That's my Amazon affiliate link. So I do get a small commission if you go through that, but obviously it doesn't cost you any more. So are night terrors dangerous? No, not really, unless your child becomes extremely violent and can potentially hurt themselves during the night terror. In terms of psychologically, they're not going to remember it, so it's not going to have some deep psychological impact on them, or at least from what everyone says. So night terrors aren't inherently dangerous, and they can be fixed either with the Lully or with scheduled awakenings. So a lot of people might recommend just wait out the night terror because kids grow out of it eventually, but I don't see any point in letting my child go through that and going through that as a parent when I can actually fix it using one of the two methods that I've mentioned. So I hope that this has helped. I hope that this has helped reduce your fear of your child's night terror and also giving you some solutions so that you can go ahead and fix it, stop having them, and you can get a good night's sleep so you can stop being sleep deprived. So until next time, guys, sleep well.